you tube. Want to see something weird? Yeah. 82 Mercury Cougar Fox body track car. Apparently the previous owner removed all of the front sheet metal, realized how much it weighed, and decided that he could save himself a lot of weight and a lot of work at the same time. Flashing, I'm guessing? And it's got a 5-speed. And it's got a gas gauge. And the windows still work. It's got super custom door handles. Apparently, this wasn't intended to be a roll cage, which is good because it doesn't go up far enough for that. It was just intended to strengthen the body because he put in this wall back here and noticed that it flexed when he got on the power. So yeah, he just started building this, and he said he'd just add a couple of links to it whenever he heard the back thing flex. So I guess that's how this came to be. Might be a good raspberry trellis or something. And apparently the series he wanted to race in required that he have a metal battery box. So he got one. This is a negative ground car, isn't it? Yeah. Never before have two weirder front ends stare at each other down. Say, we shall meet in the middle. From our parts, one shall rise. What was that for posterity?
I think we just cut everything and pray. 2138 is going to get replaced by a 5-liter. Stay tuned.
Because sometimes the hammer is the correct tool. So, revelation, whoever spliced this car together, yeah, this is just a cut seam. There's no welding. There was some horribly applied bathtub putty, but yeah.
Hideous.
Yeah. And when we jacked up the back of it, I guess I need the light up here. When we jacked up the back of it, the top gap on the door closed up and the door wouldn't open. So,
this is well put together.
yeah.
I think it's ready for a V8.
And how long have you been driving the living bejesus out of this thing?
9 years.
Yeah. Yeah, with the work of a
Trained gorilla.
yeah, I'm not even sure they trained it. I think they just gave it a die grinder and some bathtub caulk and said, "You go, Coco." So I would like to point out that somebody seems to have mistaken whatever the fuck this is for welding.
But this I can't figure out. There's obviously the cut is here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not nearly as bad as some things, but it may just be putty.
So yeah, we were wondering how they'd welded this side so nicely.
They didn't.
Yeah.
At least a little bit.
Okay, we have actually found a weld. The nearsighted slave labor walrus who put this thing together is at least partially exonerated because he did weld part of it.
That was welded. Or at least brazed. Oh, this poor car. Is it worth putting back together?
I'm a little nervous, in retrospect, that I drove this thing. My God.
Well, it just gets better, and by better I mean pretty much the same. More goop. And more goop.
Oh, I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm depressed.
So it's been a while since I was taught how to braise, but I'm pretty sure that one of the important tenets of brazing is to have the braze material actually, you know,
Touch the metal.
Yeah, touch both pieces of metal. I just remember that helping. Yeah. They did a lot of it, and they, you know, I would almost expect it to see it like get better as you go across the line, but
Yeah, no, it didn't.
no.
It was done in Alaska, so they were cold.
Yeah, well, it seems like they would have put more heat into the joint then to, like, compensate, but...
Well, they did put heat into the joint.
It just wasn't the joint
It wasn't the joint of the car. We've learned something tonight.
That polar bears can't weld for shit.
The car is truly questionable.
This poor fucking thing. So, Dad, show us your new way of adjusting door gaps.
Body adjustment? Something like that. It's pretty close.
Yeah,
We're getting there.
That's just your all-purpose hammer. It takes off wheels, it aligns door gaps. What can't it do?
Clean windshields.
This door has never fit this car this well.
Thank you, Thor.
Work continues on this project. Been working on a little bit of rust repair in here. So you can see I grafted on a new piece of metal to the bottom of what I'm told is called a fletch plate or a fitch plate, or I don't know what the hell it is. This thing. Back of the wheel well. Anyway, did that up, made a little bracket so it can weld down to here to maybe give a little more support here. So yeah, got that done up, replaced the front section of this. You can see where it doesn't look quite right, where I repaired it. It had a couple of holes in it there, and it doesn't anymore. Also patched it up a little bit in here. I was kind of surprised at how poorly the factory had welded it. They just kind of went through here with a little pinch welding sort of thing. So, you know, it wasn't hard to get off, put it that way. So now I'm looking at this side. As you can see, I've got the this thing off. It really doesn't look as bad as the other one. I'm not seeing any holes in it that there aren't supposed to be. The sill is, well, I'd say it's about in the same condition, but in different places. So it's more rotted out at the front here, and it's got a great big gaping hole there. But apparently these end caps are cheap, so Dad's just going to pick one up, and I will throw that in and then repair this outer flange. But it seems to be solid going along the bottom. So really, for what we expected, we got off pretty easy here. Here we see the new end cap. Looks reasonably close to fitting. Well, it's coming along. I got part of the end cap out. The rest of it is welded better than I thought. So there's a little brazing in that corner. So I'm going to switch tactics here. This front flange needs to come off because it's, or this, yeah, this front bit here needs to come off. There's a bolt hole down there that I was really hoping to avoid, but it looks like I'll have to take it off, to take a strip off. And I'm just going to go up to this crease mark there, and that'll allow me to take the chisel and go through there and hopefully get the top of this off and then get the rest of this out. Well, that took long enough. Finally managed to get it all out. This corner here is a right pane. It is brazed here, so I'll have to grind that up before I can weld to it properly. Ended up cutting right through the middle of this mounting hole, though. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. Not quite happy with that. It's a little Mickey Mouse, but I don't want to put the weld right in the middle of where the clip goes, and I don't really want to have a funny little jog piece coming back off of it and around the clip unless I have to. So I'll see if I can make this work. First, though, I'm going to vacuum all of the crap out of this sill. Alright,
Alright, got the rocker panel all vacuumed out. I just stuck the shop vac hose down it. There was a little mud at the far end, so I jammed a long piece of rod down it and broke it up and then jammed the shop vac hose into it. Anyway, got this mocked up here and ready to tack. It actually fits up pretty well, I think, so I'm just going to go ahead and tack it in a few places, at least, and then I can start work on the patch panel for here and figure out what I'm doing about that mounting hole. Also see what I can do about putting my finger in front of the camera. Then I've got a couple of, 4 actually, little holes to patch up here, and then I'm going to try and weld this gap up here. Well, surprise, surprise, the patch panel isn't quite right. It appears to be slightly larger than it should be, as I found out after I'd welded it in. Noticed the top was a little high, and I thought, huh, and I picked up a hammer and I made it not be a little high anymore. And then I started looking at the bottom and I realized that it's flush to this. This is supposed to come forward and go over that, but if it does that, I'm going to be adding a sort of lip around the outside of it, and we don't want this to stick out because the fender has to go over this. This is the piece I cut off. You can see it's full width and it's not going to work. So this is the patch panel. Yeah, I'll get back here, you. So yeah, it's going to fit in there like that. It's a little Mickey Mouse, but it's just kind of what it comes to. Well, it's not pretty, but it's in. It'll need some grinding. But what about that hole there? That hole that's only half a hole. Well, I did consider drilling the piece before I cut it, but, you know, it moves around so much when you're putting it in and trying to get everything to work right. I didn't need one more thing that I had to fudge, so I'm gonna fudge it now. The rat tail file. And there we have it. Mint. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll be behind a fender, so I'd say it's pretty enough. So, how do you fill a gap that big? Well, you get a piece of rod that you're not terribly attached to. You just stick her in there. I just saw a goddamn mouse go underneath that motor. Well, the mouse is still on the loose, but got these two pieces welded up pretty nicely, I think. It's not beautiful, but you know what? It's gonna get probably either bed linered or rubber coated in one variety or another. Okay, so here it is all bolted back up. Bottom fits up pretty nicely, so I'll just go ahead and weld up those spots there. Shoot a little paint at her, call it a night. Also, I'm pleased to report that I finally caught the goddamn rodent. It was actually a chipmunk, and I caught it with my hand and glove. It ended up in a milk crate somehow, and I just pulled it out. So that's welded up. And I went ahead and sprayed some fresh primer in here. Well, now that we've got the rust in the front of it taken care of, we need to focus on adding a little bit of structure to this back end here. But I think this is a good place to break the video, so yeah, break it off here. This can't sit here forever. I really can't get over how beautiful these damn rockers are.